Today on Locked On Canadiens, the Montreal Canadiens do a lot of things right. They just don't do them all in the same game. We're going to talk about that plus our three goalie problem coming up next.
You are Locked On Canadiens, your daily podcast on the Montreal Canadiens, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hi there, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Locked On Canadiens. We want to thank you all for making us your first listen of the day. As you know, we're free and available wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube as part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. And today's episode is brought to you by GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. My name is Laura Saba, also known as the Active Stick, and I'm joined, as always, by the wonderful Ian Boisvert. We both watched that Buffalo game. We both weren't super impressed by it. The numbers are different than our impressions, so we're going to get into that in our first segment. Later on, we're going to talk about our three goalie problem. It's our Friday mailbag, and that was one of the questions. Plus, what does Arber Xhekaj have to do to earn an extension, and a couple more questions as well. Ian, tonight's game was not our favorite of the year.
No, and you definitely alluded to it off the top. As right before we started recording, I was rattling off all these thoughts I thought I had about this game. I was like, oh, they didn't do very well at 5. They gave Buffalo way too many high danger chances. Well, at 5-on-5, high danger chances were 10-5 Montreal. Oh, okay, well, the Demidov-Slafkovsky line, I didn't think had a very good 5-on-5 game. 90% expected goals at 5-on-5. So I don't know why I had such a hard time watching this game, but it felt like the Canadiens just, and to a certain extent the Sabres as well, every time they went to make a pass, the puck rolled off their stick. Every time they went to go take a shot, something else happened. Like, it was just it was tough for anyone to get any kind of flow going until, like, there was about 8 minutes left in the third period and the Canadiens are down and they're pushing, and Colton Ellis, the goaltender for the Sabres, makes a huge mistake and turns the puck over, and chaos ensued. Montreal was able to put a couple shifts together after that. But I found this one a really tough one to watch. I'll be honest, I never fully enjoyed this hockey game. Even when the Canadiens were up, even when they were tied and the game was close, like, they scored 3 goals on their first 10 shots. And then they just seemed completely disinterested with shooting the puck anymore. And I'm getting tired of that being a thing that this team does.
Yeah.
Because it's very frustrating. You have a rookie goaltender you're playing against on the ropes, giving up 3 goals on 10 shots, and your first thought isn't throw everything at the net you possibly can. I really get frustrated with that approach from this team sometimes. But look, grand scheme of things, this is their first back-to-back loss since December 9th. So not so bad.
Yeah. Listen, this team is a good team. Like, I think it's a little bit frustrating because the Buffalo Sabres are the kind of franchise that celebrates a team that won 2 playoff rounds.
Oh my
right?
God.
Like, on a night like that, you should be able to shame them out of their own building. I think also we got spoiled last year. We went to see a Buffalo game and it was not even close. The Canadiens were just so much better than the Sabres. And I feel like that's kind of like still in our mind every time we watch these two teams play. Like, Buffalo is one of the hottest teams in the NHL right now. I think they're a little bit of a fraud. The underlying numbers do bear that out. I don't want to begrudge like Buffalo Sabres fans this fun, and hopefully I'm not, having to eat my words in March or April and the Buffalo Sabres make the playoffs and the Canadiens do not. I just don't believe in this team. And so I thought that the Montreal Canadiens should be the kind of good that exposes that, right? And that's something that we talked about. We wanted them, earlier today, we wanted them to do that. We wanted them to be able to expose the Buffalo Sabres. And, I think the issue that I had a little bit is that the game did not look good. And the underlying numbers are the opposite of that.
Yeah,
right?
it's really bizarre. I don't know what, like, this, and I following along on Blue Sky with reporters at the game and fans who are watching. Everybody had a different opinion of how they felt about that game.
Yeah.
And I just really, a lot of times it's very easy to go hive mind on this and just say whatever other people are, others are saying. I did think that one of the things that we've seen consistently in games where it doesn't seem like the Canadiens are able to muster much is the Sabres forecheck, especially early in this game, hemmed the Canadiens in their own zone. They could not get out of their zone. They could not make plays. They could not skate the puck out. And that led to a lot of offensive zone time for the Buffalo Sabres. That, to me, is the Achilles heel on this hockey team. If you have big, fast forwards who can get in on the forecheck and make life difficult for the Canadiens defensemen who are back there playing it, or any of the goalies who are out playing the puck, because they don't, I mean, we're going to talk about the 3 goalie rotation. All 3 of them aren't great at playing the puck. So I find that that's going to be something that this team needs to evolve and figure out how to deal with, because when a team's forecheck is on, they have no answer. And it's tough for anybody to overcome a really strong forecheck, but it seems to be, I cover this team. This team has a really hard time dealing with it.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I find that, honestly, like the Montreal Canadiens, once they're able to get going, they're able to do the same thing. I just feel like if you want to be a team that gets counted amongst your Dallas Stars, your Colorado Avalanche, your Edmonton Oilers, all of those people, who am I forgetting? It doesn't matter. They're in the East. Colorado. Carolina. Sorry.
There you go.
Like, if you want to be one of those teams, you have to be able to play like those teams. And what those teams can do is overcome a strong forecheck from the opposing team. And I personally feel, listen, Buffalo has a lot of talent up there. And I do feel like Tage Thompson had a monster of a game, even without the goals. Like, he was just so good this game, right?
He was in on every goal. He had 5 points.
Yeah. But even, like, it's just the way he was carrying himself in that game. And it's possible, I haven't been following as closely as I should be to know why they've been so good of late. And like, I'm sure that Tage Thompson has like a huge hand in that, right? He was phenomenal. I just feel like the Montreal Canadiens, if they want to win in the playoffs, they're going to have to be better than players like that. They're going to have answers for that. And I feel like they don't have answers as of late. Or, like, we talk about the power play, and we should talk about the power play today. Like, we talk about the power play, they fix that, and then something else in their game unravels, right?
Yep.
They can't remain consistent on anything.
Yeah, it's true. The last thing I want to mention at 5-on-5, I think they're easing Goalie back in. I didn't think he looked all that good. I think he's a little rusty. He's definitely shaken off the rust. He's earned that on ramp. But the other thing, the Dano Anderson Bolduc line was horrible. They were 17% expected goals at 5-on-5. I understand Bolduc is young. I get it. I really do.
And the other two are not young.
The other two are not young. But every line that Bolduc finds himself on struggles. And like, how many bad roommates do you have to have before you're the bad roommate? Like, that's kind of where, and I'm not indicting this player for life. He's just really struggling to find a role on this hockey team
right now.
We penciled him in this sort of lower 6 role, and he's playing it, and it's not really working. And when he has the puck on his stick, I want him to not have it on his stick as soon as possible. I really struggle with the guy's decision making right now. I think a lot of that's confidence. He's because every time he touches the puck, something's going wrong. So he'll play himself out of this. If they need to move him down another line to make that happen, it might happen sooner rather than later with guys coming back. But I'm noticing.
I honestly see them scratching him for a game.
Man,
I see it coming. Like, when I watch this man play, and it's like you said, like, he's gonna figure it out. I think he doesn't have the maturity level, so he's doing those things. And we've talked about this with so many young players on this team, particularly 2 years ago, 3 years ago, is that like they're too in their head.
Yeah.
And whatever they're doing with their body does not match what they want to be accomplishing with their brain, right? And he's just the latest in that. And the reason that we're having such a problem with this is because every other player is through that stage. They're on the other end of it. And so we as a fan base, or just as people watching, expect that he's also past it. Like, we expect him to be on the same page as everyone else.
Yeah, he hasn't grown with this core like everybody else has, right? Yeah. Like, and he doesn't have the raw talent that some of the other guys have. He is a not a project in the sense that we usually say, like Michael McCarron was a project for the Canadiens. I just think that he needs more time to cook. Yeah. So there's that. Let's cover the power play quickly before we have to move on. I've been making notes of moments that happen in games. They get their first power play when they're down a goal. It turns into a 5-on-3, exactly the same amount of time on the 5-on-3 as they had against Washington, which I found to be some sort of cosmic coincidence. And Demidov scores. Later on the power play, they score again. It is Suzuki, and it's a shot from Hudson that we don't see all that often that creates a rebound and scores. I think if they take one lesson away from this, it's shoot the puck. They're trying to pass it into the net. They don't need to do that.
Yeah, shoot the puck. And like we yelled shoot for I don't know how, like 25 episodes. They finally did it and it worked. So, like the proof is in the pudding. I don't think we need to go any further than that, other than to say, they've got Ottawa coming up. They really need to be finding their consistency. Like for me, like I just want them to be like keep the things that they're good at and build on it instead of being good at a different thing and then losing whatever. Right?
Yeah.
That's what we need.
And what is Ottawa's Achilles heel? They can't get a save. They cannot get a save. You need to throw it doesn't matter who's in net for Ottawa. Throw everything at that goalie. You will win that hockey game.
Yeah. That's what they need to do. They need to shoot. All right. Up next, we are going to start with our Friday mailbag. We've got a question about the 3 goalie problem, which we talked about earlier this week, but we saved it for this episode. And that's coming up next here on Locked On Canadiens. Today's episode is brought to you by GameTime. There's nothing like being near the ice during hockey season. The speed, the hits, the atmosphere. It's unmatched. Watching at home is great, but being in the building is a completely different experience. The only thing that used to get in the way was actually getting tickets, long queues, endless screens, and prices changing at checkout. That's why the GameTime app gives the advantage back to fans. It is the hack for unlocking amazing NHL tickets and experiences in just a few steps. I pulled up the GameTime app to check out upcoming NHL games and was surprised at how fast it was to find great seats. If you're close to Ottawa, you feel like taking a drive, you can get plenty of tickets and they're great prices. The zone deals are clutch. You choose a section and GameTime will just pick the seats and you save even more. What I really love is that you can see the view before you buy, so you know what you're getting into. And the fees are included up front. So the price you see is the price you pay. And, seeing an NHL game for as low as $25 is easy, right? To make it so you can plan your game night. So take the guesswork out of buying NHL tickets with GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL. That's LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download the GameTime app today. Thank you for making Locked On Canadiens your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. And if you haven't already, go check out our new Everydayer Club. What you get is access to an ad-free audio feed for Locked On Canadiens, compatible with Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and every other major podcast app. You also get an invite to the members-only Locked On Everydayer Club Discord server, which includes a group chat just for listeners of this show. And Ian loves Discord. He knows he's going to teach me all about it so that we can hang out together. And if you want to check out the Everydayer Club, go to lockedoncanadiens.supercast.com or you can click the link in the show notes. All right, Ian, we got a question this week from a listener that I forgot that I was running the mailbag today. I literally offered to do it before, and it is a question from Sebastian. I had a mailbag question I'd love to hear you two discuss, and it does involve the 3 goalie conundrum the Canadiens are facing at the moment. My thoughts are that Jakub Fowler should be sent down to Laval if Montreal secures a spot in the playoffs. Now, this is not a reflection on Fowler's success in the NHL, of course. He's been able to prove that he belongs in the NHL. I would view it as a development path for him. Laval is currently 3rd in their conference as I write this, and from what I hear, a pretty strong team. And Fowler can elevate the Rocket to make a serious claim for the Calder Cup this year. While his experience in NHL playoffs would be valuable, I don't think I'm out of pocket when I say the Canadiens could realistically make it past the first round, but I don't think that they could compete with some of the more experienced teams all the way, such as Colorado. If Fowler could go down and add some experience as a winner and have a realistic chance at winning with Laval, it could add to his pedigree. And Montreal has had luck with a goalie that's won a Calder Cup. That Price fellow wasn't bad at stopping pucks, Anyway, thank you for providing awesome content. Oh, thank you so much for listening. Honestly, sometimes I feel like we don't do enough, and then all of you guys come up with ideas for us to talk about. Okay, should be noted that Jakub Fowler has been named an AHL All-Star, even though he's currently an NHLer. Don't know what's going to happen with that, but they're for sure going to send him down. particularly, during the break. But I don't know. Like, I like this question, but I don't know if Fowler sticks around until the playoffs. I think he goes back to Laval well before then, right?
Yeah, and I think in my mind, everyone's saying, "Oh, the 3 goalie thing needs to end," and it will. There is an expiration date on that, and it's coming up, and that's when guys start getting healthy, because they're not going to waive a Sammy Blais or waive a Joe Veleno and carry 3 goalies. So they're going to, because 2 of their goalies can go down to Laval without an issue. Both Dobeš and Fowler can be sent down to the American Hockey League. So I don't think that this is going to go on much longer. I think ultimately, again, the Canadiens would have it the same way Sebastian would, which is, they send Fowler back down. He gets the starter's net in Laval. He plays the lion's share of games. They go on a run. Maybe they go a little bit further than they did last year. You got to remember, he was in the playoffs last year and he looked pretty good for a lot of it. So I think Sebastian's plan is very similar to what I think the Canadiens were kind of hoping they'd be able to do all season. And then Montembeault went through his struggles and Dobeš went through his struggles. I will say, just since we're talking about goalies, Canadiens' next opponent Saturday night is in Ottawa. The Ottawa Senators were Sam Montembeault's last start before he went on his conditioning stint. The Canadiens decided that was enough. That's too much. It would be kind of a symbolic end to this saga of his season for him to play well against the Ottawa Senators. I feel like that would be a nice way to put a bow on that. I think that would be game 5 for us. Like we said, 5 games, and we're like, okay, we're back in on Montembeault. I feel like that would be a really good time, not only for that to finally happen, for Montembeault to, earn the confidence back, but also at that point, make a decision in net, send somebody down. It'll probably be Fowler for what it's worth.
Yeah. I think, okay, so if I'm not mistaken, Samuel Montembeault is 3-1 since Laval, right?
Yeah, and that one is an overtime loss.
It's an overtime loss. And he also looked really good in that game despite the loss, right?
Fantastic.
Like, Samuel Montembeault has looked fantastic in the last 4 games that he's played. I think that Ottawa is a great way to kind of bookend it, also because stupid things tend to happen against that team, right?
Sure.
And like, that's a prime game for like things to go completely wrong and for him to fall apart. And so if he doesn't, then I'm convinced that he's okay, right? So then he's earned the starter job back, right? And so out of Jakub Dobeš and Jakub Fowler, it still seems to me that Jakub Fowler is the one that goes down because he has starter energy, whereas Jakub Dobeš has backup energy.
He is. I think that's exactly right.
Right.
And if you're confident in Montembeault, you have the benefit of the Olympic break, knowing that he's not going.
Yeah.
That you can play him more often than maybe you would have if he gets that confidence back, right? Like, you can go kind of back to what we saw last year, where we were all begging you to rest Montembeault. But now with the Olympic break coming up, he's going to have 3 weeks off or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Like, you can afford to ride a number 1 goaltender. Obviously, don't play him on back-to-back nights if you absolutely don't have to. But like, there are opportunities here for them to get more mileage out of whatever goalie steals the net.
Yeah. And I'm convinced it's going to be Sam Montembeault, which, you know what? In like end of November, I would have been like, you're crazy. Yeah. End of November, I would have been like, they're going to trade him or waive him or whatever. Right. Any last thoughts on goaltending?
Just on Fowler in that game against Buffalo, I saw some, like, people were very polarized on his game. It was either a lot of the goals were his fault or
none of them were his fault.
None of them were his fault. And I tend to agree with the latter. A lot of it was lateral movement that was getting him to move across. I know one of the power play goals kind of went right under his arm, but he had to move across. And as soon as you have a goaltender start doing that, you can sort of take out the whole, he needed to stop that one. But again, it's the tricky part of having not only a rookie goaltender, but one that you hope will be the face of the net for your team for a very long time, is that playing him in this situation, you're thinking about his development constantly, but you also got to win games.
Yeah.
It's not to say that Fowler cost them this game. Far from it. I don't think he had anything to do with the Canadiens losing this game.
No.
But it's a difficult proposition to put that kind of goaltender in.
Yes, I absolutely agree with you. And the one thing I will say before we move on to the rest of our mailbag questions is that you have to remember something that I was also forgetting, right? Like for me, he had made the team. But when I talked to Dylan Waugh, I want to say like last week of December, it was a Monday episode. You can grab that, it's still relevant. He talked about how like Fowler isn't even fully physically developed yet. Like he hasn't
Sure.
fully grown into his own body, right? So his athleticism will improve. So that side to side movement, maybe it's a hair quicker and we get like, we get the save that we need. So he's still very much, he's great, but he's still very much a work in progress, right?
Yeah.
So that's why you send him back to Laval, you let him grow a little bit more. But I'm glad that he's with the Canadiens and getting this experience right now. But I don't think we see him too much longer, right? The closer we get to the break, the closer we get to Fowler going down and probably staying in Laval unless there's an injury, knock on wood. I'm not trying to call
Yeah.
that. All right, we've got some more mailbag questions coming up next. We want to talk about the kid line and also what does Arber Xhekaj have to do to earn an extension? That's coming up in just one moment here on Locked On Canadiens. This episode is also brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL playoffs are here, and FanDuel is officially in playoff mode. Every game day during the NFL playoffs, FanDuel is giving customers even more ways to get in on the action. Because right now, every NFL playoff game day, FanDuel users get a profit boost pack waiting for them inside the app. Each game day, you'll see a pack loaded with multiple profit boosts that you can apply to the bets you like most. Open your Profit Boost pack first thing on game day and see what boosts you want to apply. The boosts let you lean into your game day instincts, whether you're backing momentum, defense, quarterback play, or coaching. The boosts give you more juice on the bets you already like instead of forcing you to bet something new. Every play feels bigger, and the boosts make your bets feel that way too. You make your picks, then apply your profit boosts to go after even bigger payouts while the playoffs get rolling. So visit FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL, and grab your Profit Boost pack every NFL playoff game day. This episode is also brought to you by Indeed. If you've ever hired someone who looked good on paper but wasn't the right fit, you know how important that is. When you want candidates who truly match what you're looking for, trust Indeed sponsored jobs. Hiring? Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other sites. Indeed sponsored jobs will put your post at the top of the page and help you reach the right candidates faster. If I needed to hire someone for this show, I'd go straight to Indeed and be very specific about what I need. Real experience, not just a resume buzzword. Instead of struggling to get your job post seen, Indeed sponsored jobs helps your listing stand out and reach quality candidates faster. Spend more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with less stress, less time, and more results using Indeed sponsored jobs. And listeners of this show get a $75 sponsored job credit to help give your job the premium placement it deserves at Indeed.com/lockedon. Just go to Indeed.com/lockedon right now and support the show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring, do it the right way with Indeed. All right, we've got more. I was going to say we've got more playoff questions. We're not in the playoffs. I don't know where my head is at today. I feel like this game just like broke my will to live.
Yeah, not a big fan of losing a game that way. So I hear you.
So we have another mailbag question that I wanted to get into real quick. Comes from David H. Every now and then there's a new kid line. I believe the Habs have one of the best in decades in Slafkovsky, Demidov, and Kapanen. What say you? This is a quick question. Is it the best kid line in decades?
Without knowing like the broad history of what kid lines are, I think whatever line Sidney Crosby was on was an elite kid line. I think whatever line Macklin Celebrini is on right now is a great kid line. Like I that's a tough one. I think they're great. Don't get me wrong. Like they're doing stuff that we could have only dreamed they were going to be able to do at this point, especially Kapanen. Like nobody expected this from him. But I do think that there are, especially as the league has shifted younger over the years, there have been enough of these to say that maybe this Canadiens one in the last decade is top 3. I'd say. I think that's as fair as I'll get on that one. I think.
I'm really excited about. Like this is a good time to be an NHL fan, just in general. I think.
Yeah.
There's so much going on. All right. We have a question from Susan who says lots of lovely things, but I'm going to get right to the question. I will mention, though, she did say something about recommendations. There is an episode that I did with recommendations for Montreal. I believe it is the October 3rd episode. I'm going to post a link to it in the show notes for this. So if you're looking for Montreal recommendations, I did a whole third segment on all the restaurants and places I go to, and I'll link it in the show notes. All right. I have what I hope is a fun question. We all know that with hockey trades, prior rivals can become teammates overnight. Here's my question. Which players do you think would not be accepted in a trade, either by the fans or by Habs players themselves? Names that come to mind for me include Brad Marchand and the coward
Correct.
Mark Scheifele.
Correct. Both of those are correct answers.
Yes.
Um,
Is there anyone whose talent would supersede the bad feelings?
Factor?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pasternak.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
really good answer, actually. Like
Yeah.
that would Brady Tkachuk would not.
No.
Matthew Tkachuk would
No,
not.
absolutely
Like I'd still be
not.
like, I kind of hate these guys.
No.
But I think Pasternak is the perfect answer. You know who's another one that would? William Nylander.
Yes.
That is a guy that
Absolutely.
I would love to see in Montreal.
Yeah.
I think he's got the attitude to be able to handle it. I think he would cook next to Suzuki and Caulfield. That would be an incredible line. He's not going anywhere, of course. But that I think that's another one. I think it's important you pick from rivals
Yeah.
and you go from there. So that I think both Pasternak and Nylander are both very similar players, both very similar attitudes. I think those are good picks.
Nobody on Ottawa.
No, not a single Senator.
Nobody on Buffalo. Tage Thompson, maybe.
Yeah, I don't have hate for Tage Thompson like maybe I ought to.
The fans would accept him. So I don't know, but I'm thinking the players, I'm not sure. I wanted to say somebody like Kucherov. I feel like the fans would run him out of town.
Yeah, I don't want that at all. That
No.
guy can kick rocks. I want nothing to do with that.
None of the Panthers, none of the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair.
Okay. All right. And let's get to our Xhekaj question. Also, Kevin sent us an email. Longtime listener, Kevin. He's been with the show for a very long time. And I literally cried, Kevin. It was personal email to us. And I just I was having a bad day. I opened that email and you just really made my day. So I just wanted to shout you out. Thank you, Kevin, for that email. So a good friend of the show, Xhekaj Face Punch, has a question. I think Xhekaj has a curse. His biggest strengths turn into weaknesses if he doesn't stay between 50 and 75. He is far more effective when he plays physically, but gets into trouble where he goes full Terminator. He got loads of praise for his recent offensive flair, and then he seemed to play Vancouver as if he were Lane Hudson and went a -3. So how does an emotional beast like Arber find that balance and earn a lengthy contract this summer? And then there's a picture of his students got him a picture of Arber Xhekaj. I believe his wife got it signed or framed. So anyways, I just love this kind of stuff. You send us this kind of stuff. He sends his picture of his family in Habs jerseys, the Xhekaj picture, his students, know he loves Xhekaj. So all right. So I like this, the thing where he's saying, if he's going at 100%, he's not doing as well as if he keeps it between 50 and 75. But I feel like all the things we always say about Arber Xhekaj, that's exactly what we're talking about. When we say pick your spots and control your temper, I think that's what we're talking about, right?
Yeah, I think the term I used for him earlier this week was he's a moments defender.
Yeah.
Right? He is a defender that needs to that shines in specific moments at specific times, and those moments can also be his downfall, right? Whatever he did really well against Detroit, he really struggled with against Vancouver. There were moments where he was turning the puck over. I agree on the Lane Hudson comment. He was flying up the ice for some reason. Don't know what got into him there. But yeah, I think the one thing I would caution against is I don't think a player like Arber Xhekaj should and probably won't get a very long-term contract. He'll probably be living off of 3-4 year deals for his career, just because players of that kind of caliber, they're just not usually worth signing for 7-8 years at a time.
I honestly feel like it's more 2 years at a time, right?
Yeah, and I think so. He's a UFA, I believe, in 2028. So you can bridge him again.
Yeah.
and not worry about it. And then you can kick that can down the road and still be an RFA. So if he gets an extension, it's probably a 1 year that gets him to 2027. And then they're trying to figure out what happens at that point.
Yeah. And I don't think that if they sign him for 1 year, that's an indictment on his play either. I think that's just the way these kinds of players work.
Right. And you know what I said yesterday about the Canadiens forwards and how 2 years from now they have 5 forwards under contract. It's kind of the opposite on defense. They have 4 players under contract, which means, there's only 6 spots in the lineup. So to have 4 of your guys locked up past 2 years from now, or after next season, means there's not a lot of room for a guy to in the case of Arber Xhekaj, if he costs too much or wants too much, we don't really have a spot for you. So that's kind of the way the Canadiens have played their way into this good contract situation, especially with guys like Engstrom and guys like Reinbacher still on the way. I was thinking about this when I was watching the Flyers this week. The Canadiens have to be so thankful that Matvei Michkov is slumping right now, because nobody is talking about the fact that Reinbacher has not even made his NHL debut yet.
Yeah.
It's not to say he's been bad. I don't think he has been bad, but the Canadiens have been afforded this luxury because, 1, they got Ivan Demidov, and 2, boy, what's going on with Matvei Michkov in Philadelphia? I think the Canadiens really are getting just all kinds of luck all around the league.
Yes, absolutely. Before we get into our trivia, we just want to tell everyone we have a bonus episode coming up tomorrow. I think tomorrow. We're going to try and drop it on Saturday. How about that?
Yeah, there you go.
We're recording it on Friday, and then hopefully we won't have to edit it down too much. And it's all about heated rivalry. I have so many feelings. I don't know where to put them, but also we have a podcast, so we're gonna go through them on the podcast. So if you like heated rivalry, or if you have watched it and aren't tired of talking about it yet, we'll have a weekend bonus episode on that. I also just want to remind everyone to get in touch with us. You can send us mailbag questions to lockedoncanadiens@gmail.com is probably your best bet. We also have another question that we didn't get to, but we will get to it next week. I feel like it's now a bit like every boondoggle question just gets pushed.
I believe we also had a Kyle Roberts question we didn't get to. So
we did have a Kyle Roberts question that we didn't get to. Yes, that is true. We will talk about it. I did promise Kyle we would debate it. All right. What is our trivia from yesterday? I remember. You asked you asked us who would score the first goal.
And it was Cole Caulfield. And our answer was given to us correctly by a YouTube user, Sean. So thank you, Sean, and way to be correct on that one. We spent most of that, or at least an episode this week, talking about how Cole Caulfield needs to shoot more. And he got 2 shots off the same 2-on-1 against Buffalo and scored. So I hope he heard us. So Sean, congratulations on that one. All right. Today's question.
Which is an actual trivia question.
An actual trivia question. But if you also want to put first Habs goals in the comments, I'll take that too. We'll give you a shout out if you get the goal right against Ottawa.
Do it all the time. Do it all the
time. For some reason, the Buffalo Sabres celebrated the team for winning 2 rounds 20 years ago. Which Montreal Canadiens scored 5 goals in 6 games versus the 05-06 Sabres? So this was the Canadiens' leading goal scorer against that very good Buffalo Sabres team. He scored 5 goals in 6 games against the 05-06 Sabres. If you have the answer, put it in the comments down below this video. Let us know how smart you are, and we'll give you a shout out on the next episode of the show.
Can't wait to stop recording and give you 8 wrong guesses. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in today to Locked On Canadiens. We have obviously our bonus episode coming up this weekend on heated rivalry, but on Monday we will be back to business as usual, doing our weekly recaps and all that kind of stuff. So make sure you're subscribed to and you follow Locked On Canadiens so you get all the latest episodes. You can find us all over social media. We're on Blue Sky at Locked On Canadiens. We're on TikTok at Locked On Canadiens, and we are on Instagram at Locked On Canadiens. And if you never miss an episode, the Everydayer Club is built for you. Get Locked On Canadiens ad-free, plus members-only Discord access and more. Head to lockedoncanadiens.supercast.com to join the club. And for those of you who are on video, we're going to send you right over to the first ever 24/7 National Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel. And if you're on audio, make sure your second listen of the day is NHL Game Night on Locked On NHL. We want to thank you all for listening. We will see you both this weekend and on Monday. Bye.